Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in, 4:15 on a Tuesday. Zach Gelb Show, 609-919-9200 on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, 920 AM or 920thejersey.com. A lot of local football talk. Eagles have been a disaster. Not a apparent effort on this past Sunday. Matt Rhule leaves Temple University for Baylor, and the Jets, really bad effort last night on Monday Night Football. Also, the New York Football Giants, they went down to Pittsburgh this past weekend. Now joining us on the show, I always love talking football with this guy, and that's Brian Baldinger, who's kind enough to join us right now. Baldy, Zach Gelb here. What's happening, my man?
Hey, good afternoon, Zach. Obviously, there's a lot of football talk out there, so I'm glad to join you about it.
Well, thank you so much. Let's first start off with Temple, because I saw you on the field celebrating the Matt Rhule victory and the Temple football victory, American Athletic Conference champions on Saturday. Then that program gets big news today, and that's Matt Rhule is leaving for Baylor. What was your reaction when you heard the news?
Well, I'm obviously, saddened for, all Temple Owls and the whole Temple Nation out there, because they're losing not just a great football coach, but a great guy. And, he obviously, what he's done on North Broad Street is nothing short of amazing. But you have to do this in college football. You got to strike when the iron's hot. And this is about, getting, to the bigger and better program. And, ultimately, I believe that Matt will be in the NFL as a head coach. And I think this is a good and important step for him.
Why do you think he has the qualities to be an NFL head coach?
Well, he spent a year with the Giants, with Tom Coughlin. I think he learned a lot there as an assistant offensive line coach. I think he saw that his style of coaching and his style of what he believes in can work in the NFL. And I think he understands the game implicitly, from position to position, how to treat men, how to motivate, how to build. I think he knows how to do all of those things. And I think those things are sorely lacking in a lot of places in the NFL, and he still is young, and he's got strong beliefs that I think work in the NFL. I think he's using them at Temple. I think he knows how to put together a good staff, and I think a lot of these guys will probably follow him to Baylor and wherever he goes from there.
Now, they got to keep this Temple football dream alive, and this is a program that's had a lot of success. You saw it on Saturday, and the next coach that they're going to hire is going to be very important, and I think it's key that you get a guy that can give you a run like Matt Rhule did, staying here for 4 years, compared to the last football coach in Steve Adazio, who was only here for 2 years. Temple's a unique job, but it does have the power to really captivate this city's attention. We saw what the Owls did last year with College Game Day, beating Penn State, and then also this year. When you look at characteristics for a coach for Temple, what kind of guy do you think they need to get next coming in? What does that guy need to possess?
Well, we've seen coaches come through here, that were good. Obviously Bruce Arians was here, he was a good coach. I think you gotta be able to recruit locally, keep the kids in from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey area, which he has done. You got to keep that pipeline strong. You got to sell Philadelphia as a real positive. Matt, the facility up there on North Broad Street is just fine. It's not one of these lavish campuses that you see in a lot of places, but if you want to build an intimate program, players really get to know each other, spend a lot of time on top of each other. They got a great place for it. I've been over there. I've seen the facility. It's got everything that you need. And so, recruiting is always the lifeblood of any program, and Matt did that. And then he was able to not just recruit, but develop, keep the kids here. And you can see the kids that are going on to the NFL. I saw Tavon Young starting on Sunday for the Ravens. You see what Robbie Anderson did last night. I mean, he built, and has recruited kids that can go play in the NFL. That's an important quality for any kid that wants to go to a college program. Hey, do you think I have what it takes? And Matt knew that he wasn't going to get the 5-star recruits, and that was fine. But he took 2 and 3-star recruits and maximized the potential. A lot of these kids have gone on to the NFL.
Baldy, a lot of these kids are on an emotional high. They just won a conference championship, and then a mood gets a little bit damper today with the news. And, hey, it's inevitable. Eventually Matt was going to leave Temple University. I talked to a few Temple players today, some mixed emotions, but a lot they understand the decision and they're happy for Coach Rhule. There's still one more game to be played. They have Ed Foley. He's now going to be the interim head coach. He's going to get that tag. How do they get these guys, and you've been on it where you're a player and you can only control so much, how do they get the players to shift the attention to the bowl game?
Well, look, they're going right back to the Naval Academy, where they won the American Athletic Championship. And so, they'll get ready for Wake Forest. Ed knows what he's doing. He knows how to run the offense. He's been doing that. I saw him on the field after the game. Look, let's go right back to where we won it all, and let's go play with the same effort that we just did. And let's go take on an ACC program, a Big Five team, and let's go take them down. That's you get one more chance here, one more chance to play a football game and, late in December. And let's have the same feeling we had when we were, singing our fight song in front of all the fans and the band and everything else. Let's go repeat that effort one more time. And I think that's a pretty easy thing to sell. They're not going a long ways away. They can stay in Philadelphia. They can stay home during the holidays. They can get on a bus and go down there and enjoy that feeling again.
Brian Baldinger right now with us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Baldy, I think that the Owls will have a good effort coming up on that Tuesday, December 27th. One team, though, that I saw a very poor effort from on Sunday was the Philadelphia Eagles, and the coach finally admitted that yesterday in his press conference. If you were a player in that locker room and you were the coach, say that some players weren't showing a great amount of effort, how would you react to that?
Well, I think, the great motivator inside a locker room, Zach, is peer pressure. And, when's tomorrow morning, when this whole team convenes and gets ready for a home game against the Redskins, I put them all in that film room together, watch it as a team, go through it play by play. Take 2 hours and go watch it as a team. And just to point it all out, Fletcher Cox doesn't look like he's giving great effort, which there's plays which he clearly did not. Then, you show it. If you want to point out Zach Ertz passing up a block on Vontaze Burfict, show it. But also show the good efforts and show what good effort does and why plays do happen when you do give that type of effort. Just watch what Jason Peters and how he plays every single game this season, almost play to play to play. Point those things out. There's a month left to be played. And, this team is not a playoff team, but they're not out of it. The Redskins a year ago were 5-7, won the last 4 games and won the division. So, these got 3 of these 4 games at home here. The fans know when you don't give a good effort. They'll see it. And so 2 things will happen, if they play with similar effort or if it even declines from here, is A, the fans will show they'll show you what they think of their effort.
We know that.
And B, they'll stop showing up. And that's the worst thing that can happen, is if they just stop showing up here in the last month of the season.
Now, Brian, I was furious about the McLeod lack of effort and the Ertz lack of effort, in my opinion, on Sunday. And last week, the coach alluded to the rebuilding process. I hate to even ask this question because it's Doug's first year. Do you think these players are quitting on the coach, or are they just not that good right now?
They're just – I don't really believe – actually, I don't believe there's a lot of lack of I don't think guys are quitting. I don't see it. They're not making plays, not making enough plays. Now, is that – what I don't see, though, Zach, and this is all part of are they quitting or not, is what's the effort like over there at NovaCare? Are guys showing up on time? Are they coming early? Or are they just walking in right when the first meeting starts? Because I think that's happening a little bit. And that's typically what happens when your team is not playing well and, you're in a 3-game losing streak and you've won 2 out of the last 9 games. Guys don't put in the great effort, the great concentration during the week. And if that is the case, Zach, that is a reflection of the coach. And sorry to say, I know it's 1 year, but and I don't know that that's the case because I'm not over there. And then what happens is if they're not giving the great effort, if they're just skimming by and just sliding by over there during the week, that will seep into Sunday. And perhaps that did, everybody has their own take. I saw Jalen Watkins pass up a chance at the goal line 2 weeks ago, to go maybe put a hit. I thought that Fletcher Cox could have kept Jeremy Hill out of the end zone at the 2-yard line in the first touchdown of the game. So, but if those things were taking place, then then unfortunately that can be a reflection on the coach. Not just Doug, but that can be a reflection of, position coaches. And I think that probably happened at the end with Chip. And that's something that, Jeffrey Lurie has to really take a look at if that's the case.
Everyone says Doug Peterson is a player's coach. One concern I had in training camp when I kept on hearing that, and it's all right to be a player's coach in this league. You could be a player's coach and win a lot of games, but you need to decipher how to be a player's coach and not be a doormat. How does Doug do that?
Well, the term player coach, it could be a lot of different things to different people, Zach. You don't have to, I played for coaches that weren't liked. I didn't care if you liked them, but you had to respect them. Bill Parcells is one of the great coaches of all time, and there's a lot of players and a lot of coaches that didn't really always like him because he was so hard on him, and you didn't realize how good he was and how important it was for him to be hard on you until he wasn't there anymore. And we've seen that. We saw that in Green Bay with Mike Holmgren. Some of these guys are just a bear, day in, day out, to be around and to be with, but that's what drives you. And so that's not Doug's style. He's not an intimidating guy. He talks to you like a man. But you hope that, aside from the coach, that the game, because it's all about the game, the history of the game is enough to motivate you to do your very best. It is a business. It is a profession. And you can be here today, gone tomorrow. And that's true of anybody. But really, the game is going to be here regardless of who's running it from the NFL level to the coaching level, whatever. To me, the respect for the game is that you give it your all the time, regardless of who's blowing the whistle to start practice. So I hope that that's what the case is.
A big topic of conversation on local radio shows this week here in this area, South Jersey, and then also Philadelphia. Should the coach be here next year? I think it's ludicrous to fire a coach after 1 year. I'll just preface my question with that. But one thing, though, that I want to ask you, just because you break down the game film so well and you've been in so many locker rooms during the course of your career, what does this coach do well, though? Because I really can't pinpoint too many things that he does well, seeing him right now in his first several games as the head coach of the Eagles.
Well, he's very organized. Just from the standpoint of guys getting on and off the field and, understanding, how valuable timeouts are and those kind of things. For all that, he's organized now, and he knows how to put. I think he knows how to get a team ready. I saw him beat Pittsburgh, and I saw him beat Atlanta. I saw him win some really key games. I saw him really fight hard in some other games that they lost. The Dallas game and the Giant game. Were against very good teams, and they easily could have won those games. Now, did they lose them because of the coach and coaching decisions? I don't think that's the case. No, they're in a 3-game losing streak. That's not good for anybody. I don't care if you're Mike Tomlin or if you're, John Harbaugh, the guys that have won Super Bowls. They've all been in 3-game losing streaks this year. That's not fun. The sky's falling in all those places. I thought that they'd give a better effort against Cincinnati, but I had said all week that Cincinnati is a very good team trapped in a bad season. The core of that team has won division championships and gone to the playoffs 5 years in a row. That's the core of the Bengals team. They got trounced by the Redskins back in early September. All you have to do is put that game tape on, to see Robert Kelly, Matt Jones run right through them. So they've got their hands full this week, and really you have to play this all the way out, Zach. The Redskins are a good team, but they can be beat. And so if you beat the Redskins this week and basically knock them out of the playoffs, there's something to be said about that. Be something to be said about how well they play at home. So I think you have to take a look at what this looks like at about 4:30 on Sunday afternoon before, we really start asking those questions.
Now, another problem with this team, and people ask me, they were 3-0. How did they get this bad? Well, when they were 3-0, they were kicking the crap out of the opposing team's offensive line with the battle in the trenches, and now this defensive line has not been great. The sack number is clearly down from where they were earlier in the season. When you watch this team from a defensive line perspective, where has the regression been, and why has there been a regression with this defensive line?
Well, they're not winning. They weren't winning one-on-one battles up front, and you could say, well, Aaron Rodgers gets rid of the ball quickly and all that. That's all true, but there are plays in a game where you get a chance. I mean, early in that game on the opening drive, there's 4 guys that have all a one-on-one. There's not extra help. They're not max protecting. They're not chipping anybody. There's 4 one-on-ones there against the Bengal offensive line, and Andy Dalton is sitting in the pocket. Not one guy wins. Not just winning, but they're not getting their hands up and deflecting passes. There's a lot of things you could do. I mean, their job is to create havoc up front. Sacks are a part of it. So, 19 sacks in the 5 wins and, 5 sacks in the 7 losses. I mean, that's an indicator that sacks contribute, to wins. But, Sam Bradford is not a mobile guy, and Ben Roethlisberger isn't really a mobile guy. You can look at all those kind of things. All those are true. But you're right. It comes down to the defense line. They're running twist stunts, and they're not affecting the quarterback. I've seen the Cowboys chase Andy Dalton in 2 seconds off his spot. And as soon as you chased Andy Dalton off his spot, I mean, he becomes a really ineffective quarterback. He doesn't really throw it real well on the run. He doesn't make great decisions. And they didn't do that at all. Maybe one time the entire afternoon. So they got to get the quarterback to move. I mean, Kirk Cousins doesn't want to move. You saw him in the first game. He ran for some first downs. It's not what he does best. But if you're watching Kirk Cousins run on Sunday, that's a great sign that the defensive line is moving him and making him move. So they're going to see a good group. I mean, a group up front this week, Brandon Sheriff and Morgan Moses, and they'll get Trent Williams back. It's a good group up front. So we'll see. They lost their starting center last week. They went to their second center. They are actually the third center this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on Sunday. But that's what they have to do. What you said is that front 4, forget about the blitzing and the pressures and all that. That front 4 has to win this game on Sunday.
No question. Brian Baldinger here with us. Let's get to the quarterback. I think they have the right quarterback, and that's why I do still have some optimism. It comes down to really, though, now Howie Roseman surrounding that quarterback with the right pieces. You don't want to have an Indianapolis situation where it's luck and really not a whole lot around him, both offensively and defensively. But with Wentz, though, the one concern I have is him going down the middle of the field. The ball comes up a little bit high. Just give me your evaluation so far and what you've seen out of Carson Wentz.
Well, those 2 throws, the interception by Ha-Ha and Clinton Dix and the interception by George Aloka last week, it's the same route. It's Zach Ertz down the middle, and he's trying to fit it in between, the linebacker that's running with him and the safety. And, it's a poor decision, to see him make that throw 2 weeks in a row. You make it 1 week and it gets picked off. Like, you should be hesitant. He doesn't make that throw real well. It's a throw that he has to work on. It's a throw that Peyton Manning perfected, over the years to Dallas Clark and a bunch of tight ends. But there's, you can't float that ball, and he's sailing that ball. Like, some of it is there's pressure in his face, and he's just trying to throw it over the trees all the time, and that's why the ball gets high on him. Even at 6'5" with an over-the-top release, he's got to, learn to throw through the trees, not over the trees. That's part of the reason why the ball sails on him. He's trying to throw it over the top of guys with their hands up. And he's throwing it high. Drew Brees made a living in this league being one of the best quarterbacks ever. That's, 5'11", and he throws through the trees, But he was a great, college, high school tennis player. He knows how to move his feet and adjust the angle. And I think that's something that Carson's going to have to really learn how to do, is that you just can't throw over the top all the time, even though you've always done that. Sometimes you got to go through the trees rather than over them, and that's something he has to work on.
Wrapping up with Brian Baldinger, let's just quickly touch on the Jets, because that's a team, we talk about effort. Their coach was also not pleased with the effort that they showed last night on Monday Night Football. A few weeks ago, Sheldon Richardson and Muhammad Wilkerson were habitually late for team meetings, and they were out for most of that first quarter. With the head coach of the Jets and Todd Bowles in year number 2, it's been a disappointment. Not a lot of fans in that building last night. Tickets were going as low as $5 on StubHub, and that's big to Woody Johnson. When you don't have a lot of fans in that building and the fans are frustrated, people will then assume that the coach isn't coming back. Is Bowles going to be back next year, Baldy?
Well, that's Woody's and Mike McCagnon, the general manager. That's their decision. I'm a big Todd Bowles fan. I like Todd a lot. I thought he was a great hire, and they had a good first year. This has been a disaster this year, from the quarterback to the injuries, to really, they've got a lot of players, older players, making a lot of money on that team. I'm a fan of all the players, but Nick Mangold, nobody was a bigger fan than Darrelle Revis to me for about a 5-year stretch. He was my favorite player in this league, but he's not the same player, anymore. And then, look, they paid Muhammad Wilkerson an awful lot of money to be a disruptive player, and he's been anything but that. Sheldon Richardson, these are all high draft picks, highly paid players. They've either been injured or they haven't performed. Now, is that Todd Bowles' fault? I mean, I guess you could blame it on Todd. Todd's putting it on the players, and he should. And but maybe they've just got the wrong players in there. But typically what happens when you have that many players making that much money that have been drafted high, it falls on the coach. And so I don't know what's going to happen there. But I hope that Todd Bowles doesn't lose his job.
8-4 is 8-4 when we moved to the New York Football Giants. They had 3 games against not the best of opponents, but they're able to get the 3 wins. You look at what happened against the Steelers, it was not encouraging, and that offense has been inconsistent all year long. How good do you think the Giants are, Baldy?
Well, it's hard to watch their offensive line play. It's just hard to watch it play. They're just not very good. Techniques aren't very good. They're very inconsistent. Obviously, they haven't run the ball all year. Haven't run it well. It's almost mystifying that they got to 8-3. They won a lot of close games. You give them credit for that. They've made some plays to win games at the end. Defensively, they have a chance to be very good. Now, they had some injuries, on Sunday, but every team does. The signings of Olivier Vernon and Janoris Jenkins, you could see just how valuable they are. I mean, Antonio Brown beats everybody in this business. They've had trouble against tight ends all year. And so you saw Ladarius Green on Sunday make some big plays. But I think they still have a very good chance of being a playoff team. I do think they've got to improve, though, offensively. They're just not a consistent offense at all, and they go through long stretches of looking awful. A lot of that is the offensive line. Some of it is some head-scratching quarterback decisions. I expect them to really, if they improve here in the month of December, there's still a whole month of football to be played where they have a chance to improve. If they do, I think they'll find ways to win 2 more games and get to the playoffs and be a wild card team.
Baldy, last one for you as we're talking to Brian Baldinger, who's been great on our show today, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. You mentioned Antonio Brown. You know that Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown are good friends. When Brown had that miraculous grab, which no one could stop on this planet, they had a camera show Odell Beckham on the sidelines, and he was smiling at the efforts of Antonio Brown. Do you have a problem with that? Are we just making this too big of an issue, or is it a real issue?
I think it's not a big issue. I mean, I think it's just a lot of respect for certain players in this league. I mean, if I was like, I just saw Dan Marino on Sunday in Baltimore, and look, when Dan Marino was playing for the Dolphins and I was playing for the Colts, I took a knee and watched Dan Marino play. Now, cameras weren't putting it on me because I wasn't a star, but I mean, we watched Dan Marino throw the football. We weren't cheering for him. We were trying to win the game, but to watch Dan Marino throw a football, or to watch Antonio Brown, everything he does to catch a football, I mean, I just think it's respect for. I mean, I think he's the best receiver in the game. I think he proves it year in, year out. I don't think there's anybody like him ever. I can say ever, but I don't think there's anybody like him in the league. And I just think that sometimes you just admire great players, and I don't think it's anything more than that from Odell.
Baldy, always love talking to you. You're the best, brother. Let's do it again real soon.
All right, Zach, my pleasure, man. Thanks.
Thanks so much. There's Brian Baldinger joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Time right now in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios, 4:38. Some serious football knowledge with Baldy, Brian Baldinger. What we'll do right now, we're about to get some more knowledge. We got to go back to Temple football. John DeCarlo, the most plugged-in person with Temple Athletics from Owl Scoop, will join us next. Matt Rhule is out at Temple. He is taking and has accepted the Baylor job. We'll talk with John DeCarlo next of Owl Scoop.